Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Today we have the Northeast Kingdom's Queen of Ink with us. Well, that's what I'm calling her, at least. I don't know if she's ever been called that. Cori of Kingdom Ink. Welcome to the show, Cori.
Thank you, Scott.
Am I the first person who have called you the Queen of Ink?
Yes.
So now, when you become famous as the Queen of Ink, you can say,
I'm the Queen of Kingdom Ink.
Yep. Yeah, and I am the one who founded you. Yeah, but I actually understand you. You were found quite a long time ago because you've actually been on the stage, haven't you, for some of your artwork?
As in, like artwork that I've done before?
Yes. Weren't you on a program?
I got tattooed on a TV show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't tattoo on a show, but a lot of people around here recognize me or the tattoo that I got.
Right.
I got it about 15 years ago, a show called Ink Master.
Mm-hmm.
This one.
Okay.
Back here. So, so that was after my tattoo apprenticeship, and I wasn't tattooing at the time, but I did, yeah.
So how did that come about?
I was looking for a tattoo job on Craigslist in New Jersey, and this show called Ink Master was just coming out. It was a pilot season, and they were asking if anybody wanted their tattoos covered up on TV, and I was like, yes, I do. So yeah, and then it turned out to be a huge show. I don't know if they're doing it anymore, but they had 12 seasons maybe, and so I got to meet some pretty big people before I even knew that tattooing was going to be my thing.
Right. So how did you actually get involved in tattooing?
I moved to Miami, Florida when I was 18. I had been drinking a lot when I was younger, and I'm from New Jersey, and I decided I needed to get out of New Jersey. And I ended up going to rehab, to an inpatient in Fort Lauderdale. And at that time, I'd been sober for a year and went on a job search in South Beach and started working at a store called Mosh Pit, which sold rock and roll t-shirts and had a tattoo studio and piercing studio in the back. And I fell in love with tattooing. I had a couple tattoos at the time, but the whole scene was so different than anything I knew. And I started dating one of the tattoo artists, and then he found out I could draw, so he took me under his wing, and I apprenticed under him for 4 years. And we bounced up and down the East Coast for a little bit at different shops, and wound out in the desert in Las Vegas. And at that point, I was a little sick and tired of following him around, and the relationship kind of went downhill. So I got out of tattooing and didn't want anything to do with it anymore. And the roller coaster of life that sends us all different places, I wound up moving up to Vermont and going to a small college, and I wanted to farm. And
yeah, you even slopped pigs probably, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's what I thought you did.
Yeah. I worked on a poultry farm with Lila.
Yeah, Lila Bennett, a frequent guest on my show.
Yeah, we have a really solid history, me and Lila. We slaughtered thousands of chickens together, but she knew that my dream was always to tattoo, but I also love farming and the quiet life. I became a member of the community around here and got to know a lot of people, and I'm used to the hustle and bustle of like cities and busy living. So to be in a quieter area where you know everybody and people support you, it felt like I could accomplish things that I never knew that I could. So I was encouraged to open a tattoo studio above the Sea Village store in Craftsbury. I knew the owners. They showed me the upstairs, and they're like, "Oh, can't you picture this tattoo studio?" And I'm like, "Oh man, like, I think so. I think I could do it." And I was on the fire department at the time, and I had everybody's support. They're like, "I'll get a tattoo from you. I'll get a tattoo from you." So I just ran with it, and that was my dream. I would work on farms, landscape, get all the money that I could to start this studio. And I scrounged and worked super hard. And 7 years later, I have a huge wait list. My books haven't been open for 4 years, and everybody knows my name out here.
Even though we only just recently actually met face to face, I actually feel like I know you, because I know when we first met, it was like we weren't even just walking into each other's lives. It was like we've known each other.
I was like, "Oh, it's Scott Wheeler. He knows my grandpa."
And because your grandfather was, was he a haberdasher? Was that what he did when he was out of, as in with clothes and that? What did he do?
I don't know what that word means.
Oh, as in he was in the fashion.
Yeah, so he was a designer of lace and embroidery in the garment industry in New Jersey, like during the up and coming fashion of the 60s to the 80s. He built himself a career on designing, and as the story goes, I believe he started as just like a mail delivery guy and would deliver mail to these people that were designing lace and had models in and out all the time. I think the lady he worked for made lingerie. But he would listen to their conversations as he was going in and out and seeing what people were doing. And he's like, "I can do that. I know I could do that." And he snuck his way in and made his way to the top.
And his name was Skip Sador. And in retirement, he said that he actually started working on his real childhood dream of cartooning.
Yeah.
So he spent his final years in Craftsbury, correct?
Yep, he moved up to Craftsbury in the 80s to retire. He still had, I believe, 6 or 8 of his own private clients that he still designed for, that he would still send out designs through the post office for lace and garments, but really started to hone in on his cartoons, and he likes to make people laugh.
Yeah, and the thing is now, as he would say, I'm not saying it, but he'd call himself a Flatlander.
Yeah.
And, I was a, good old boy local, but we both had kind of the same sense of humor. We could look at little things in life and just make light of them, including he could make light of the fact that he was a Flatlander, and I could make light of the fact that I was born and raised here. No, we really, even though we were a generation removed, our sense of humor, and I don't think he was ever into offensive cartoons whatsoever.
No.
Whatsoever.
No, just cracking jokes on himself and other people around him.
Yeah, I know. Whenever I would need a cartoon, I would just, like for example, the time that, the one thing, there's so many armchair plow truck drivers. They don't think the plow trucks drivers know how to do it, and they talk like they can do it better. So I asked him, I said, "Can we create a cartoon?" So he created a cartoon of a fella sitting in his recliner, which had he put a plow on it, and and the guy is sitting in his armchair plow truck, and
he was a wise guy.
Yeah. Did he ever get a tattoo?
He never got a tattoo, but he did say if he did get a tattoo, it would be of a cardinal. But then he would look at his skin and pull at it and make fun of himself, and he's like, "But this old skin." But he hated tattoos before I moved up here, and he didn't really take me seriously until he started to see the tattoo work that I was putting out. And after about 4 years in, I started taking his collection of lace designs that he had acquired over the years, and started incorporating them into my work.
Right.
And he was just blown away. He would say, it's hard enough to draw that lace design on a flat piece of paper, but to make it curve and flow on the body before it's on clothing,
right,
and to tattoo it on skin, I just blew him away. And for him to be able to see me do that before he passed away,
right,
is amazing.
Now here, let's look at some of your work. Now, tell us a little bit about that one.
This piece I just worked on a couple weeks ago, and this lace is actually from her wedding dress. She took a picture of the edges of her wedding dress, and my mind works in design, and I had previously done the flowers on her. So I pieced this together that I knew it would complement the shape of her. So it would drape over the top of her shoulder and then around the front and around the back. And it's just these lace accents that are super personal to her. And it just makes the tattoo elegant and classy. That like little tiny detail is what I'm becoming known for. The crisp, clean, really beautiful. Just it looks like it looks like a piece of lace just draped on her. I love doing this stuff.
Right. Do you think, because there was a time when, it wasn't too long ago, that there was a stigma behind having tattoos, other than like, do you know your partner in business, Caitlin
Parento.
And it happens to be the cousin of Todd Parento, the producer of this show. But Caitlin's grandfather had I often said, if I ever get a tattoo, there has to be meaning behind it. And he had one, and he was a World War II veteran who landed troops onto Omaha Beach during the invasion of Normandy. And he had a tattoo that was simple. It said, "Death before dishonor." And that was one of the older tattoos that I've seen. And I think
classic.
It was either Caitlin or her sister told me that she remembers when she was little trying to rub the tattoo off because she didn't understand that it was
there.
Yeah. But do you agree there was once a stigma?
Oh, there definitely was. I feel like tattoo shows have really put tattoos into the mainstream and have made them way more acceptable and kind of turn them into a fad. So there is this struggle between old school artists and new school artists, and like people being covered in tattoos that are just totally normal people. So, but you used to be like a hard ass if you were covered in tattoos, but then there's just normal people being covered in tattoos. I love it. I think it's wonderful that people are able to express themselves how they want to. But nowadays, I think there's a lot more quality artwork out there. Even today, there's not enough good artists. People get tattoos left and right, and they're okay with them not looking that great. I don't think a lot of people know that they can be better than what they are.
Right.
Like, really look into your artist portfolio and see what can be done with artwork. It's pretty incredible.
Because when I was growing up, the people who had tattoos, some of them were really good, but a lot of them looked like what I would call jailhouse tattoos, where they just look like they had some amateur using some just makeshift.
Because they probably did.
Right. and I just remember those, but they've come a long ways. Are there any, the one tattoos? Well, it went through a period of time that I never understood. The Chinese word is if I'm going to have a tattoo, I want to be able to understand. Like, I have a niece who had has Chinese writing, and I told her, I said, you know, how do you know?
How do you know what it says?
What it really said. It could be something derogatory.
Yeah.
So she was at the Chinese restaurant, and the young woman who works there, they really get along, and she said, will you read this tattoo on my ankle? And sure enough, it did say exactly what it was supposed to say.
Yeah.
But are there any fads or anything you won't do?
There's definitely things I won't do. I won't do names of just friends on people or like new relationships, anything like that, like names across the neck. I won't do knuckles on people that don't have like a solid job in their life. Like symbols, baseball teams, whatever it is. I really like to do things that are meaningful, that I know will look classy and solid and sharp their entire life. Something that, and not to say that I haven't done it in the past. I've done I did whatever people wanted for a few years, but I could pick and choose.
Right. Well, I know you recently had a new customer come in, and person who didn't know what to expect, but he knew he wanted he wanted a tattoo, and he knew exactly what he was looking for because it was a sentimental reason. There I am in your chair. I'm going to tell you, I am probably the last person you would have seen in a tattoo artist's chair. But I decided, I'd always told my wife, I will not get a tattoo unless it means something. But for various reasons, I felt it was time to get a tattoo that really symbolized my wife's and my life. And my wife has, one of her favorite sayings is, no matter how bad things are going, she loves the thing. So how are you doing? Oh, living the dream. No matter how bad times are, we're living the dream. It's so, I thought about it and I said, well, I went to you and I said, this is what I want. I just want it clear, crisp, and I don't want anything fancy. So this is what we came up with. We live the dream. And so now I'm one of the few people, no, I'm no longer one of the few people in the Northeast Kingdom without a tattoo. I now have a...
You're not a rarity anymore.
No, I'm not. And people have asked me, does it hurt? I'd heard that it hurts. It didn't hurt a bit. I don't know if it was just because you're good or if I got it in a place where...
I did just get told yesterday by this lady, her husband is a tattoo artist, who would joke to her that he had the hands of an angel. And when I tattooed her, she's like, oh, no, you have the hands of an angel. He hurts.
I gotta say, I had to laugh. My daughter, who doesn't live here, but she's kind of thought it was kind of cool that Dad got himself a tat. And she says, does it hurt? And I says, Emily, you have pushed out 4 babies. Don't worry. Getting a tattoo does not compare to that, because I will get a full body tattoo before I do pushing any babies out.
Women sit the best. Women can
I
sit
kind of
like
think
rocks.
I did pretty good.
You did good. But when you go to a tattoo that's about an 8-hour session, it's a whole different ball game.
No.
Women can sit like rocks because usually they've pushed children out.
So tell me, I've seen a meme that when it shows 2 tattooed up people, that it's just a joke, that it seems so, everybody thinks it's so odd when the baby comes out and they see, and the 2 tatted up parents, and suddenly they have they produce this
a fresh-skinned baby.
Yeah, and it's like you're almost expecting them to come out with tattoos on them. So, yeah, so, you know, do you look at your daughter and think, well, no tats?
I honestly, I don't even think about it, but she looks at me and she runs her hands on my tattoos, and just the way she says, oh, tattoo, tattoo, but she's raised in a tattoo shop, so she knows what they are. She'll point out people's tattoos all the time. I'll put fake tattoos on her. She wants to be an artist as of right now.
So do you, what quality controls and that is in the tattoo business?
So it varies state to state. Vermont is pretty lax compared to some of the states that I have worked in, where I learned in Miami, the health department's in every shop every 30 days, checking through every little thing. Up here, it's definitely lax. There are regulations to it. You need 1,000 hours of apprenticeship in order to be a state licensed tattoo artist. My shop is regulated by the health department. You have to go through an initial inspection. You have to be registered with the Secretary of State for your business and whatnot. But everything has to be up to health code. Everything that I use is disposable, so nothing is used twice on somebody. I don't sterilize anything because it's all disposable. Right. It all gets tossed, one-time use, and that's the safest way you can go about things anyway, because it can't be traced back to something that was used twice.
Now, back to what you won't do. Do you do many artwork on people's faces?
I do not. I did just tattoo Katie's face. Katie is a tattoo artist, so she has a legit career. I love her. I did a little branch on the side of her face, and it looks beautiful on her, and she could just take her hair and kind of hide over it, or sometimes she just shows it. The only other...
For some reason, I bet you she doesn't go about hiding things too much.
No, we all know her. She is what she is. Another face I did was another tattoo artist, and that's the only faces I've done and the only faces I will do. It's just my standards. There's other tattoo artists that will tattoo on faces all day.
It seems to me like if somebody's going to... I look at some of these criminals, and I'm thinking, if you're going to try to fly below the radar, you don't have, whatever, the picture of the devil right on side of your face or something, because
it is crazy though, thinking about tattoos, and then you see somebody covered in tattoos and you immediately want to be like, oh, they must have come from jail, or they must have this, they must have that. My grandfather, for one, when he saw, I have a lot of scary tattoos, but I come from a scary place. I don't come from, happy-go-lucky life. My storyline is, but it is now. So my tattoos don't match my bubbly personality. It's pretty funny when people get to know me. So, my grandfather thought we weren't really going to get along when I moved up here, and little did he know, it didn't matter what my tattoos were. I could probably have a devil on my face, and he still would have loved me.
And you know, we had a great talk during our time, and your tattoos don't always coincide with your spiritual beliefs.
Definitely a little scary.
And they don't coincide with your spiritual beliefs either. So you can't really judge a person by their tattoos.
Absolutely.
Do you think there is still some, like you were saying, that you hope that people have a reliable job before they have certain tattoos? Do you think there's still a stigma in the workplace?
I think there still is, but definitely not as much as there used to be. Most of my clients are nurses, they're teachers, I've tattooed police officers, firemen. Most people I tattoo have solid careers.
Right. Well, we only have a few more minutes left. Here's a few more examples of your work. Tell us about that one.
So this piece, she is a client of mine since I first opened my studio, and to watch the progression of my tattoo work from 7 years ago to what this tattoo has turned into is absolutely amazing. I love every session I put into this, and it's just grown and developed. It started with just a small thing on the top of her shoulder, and this last session, I tucked the fern in, I tucked the poppy, these colorful flowers underneath. That chunk of lace that's tucked under the skull is formed from some of my grandfather's vintage collection of lace designs. And I pick through and use little pieces that stick out in my mind, and that's what it turns into. And I could not be more happier with that piece right there.
Okay,
Stunning.
the next one.
Once again, this is me using my grandfather's collection as inspiration, and I have thousands of pages of referencing of embroidery, and each and every piece that I do, I learn more about how embroidery fits together. So this was completely customly built to where I wanted to put this on her arm, and the way it wraps around the top of her arm, again, is like a piece of lace just draped over top.
And the next one.
And this is actually that lady's daughter. And I customly drew up designs that I wanted to tattoo, which is something that I'm going to be doing more in the future. Kind of like Cori jean specials, and I offer them up online, and somebody snags them. She happened to snag this. It's 2 shoulder caps. I did a columbine flower and a beautiful piece of lace that just drapes. So it's like shoulder caps that perfectly symmetrically match on both sides. It's, again, stunning and one of my favorite styles to do, for sure.
All right, we only just a few minutes left, but do you also, because I think some people, they get, say, a new relationship, and they instantly want to show their love, and they get a name tattooed, and suddenly they fall out of love. Are you able to help people with...
It depends. Yeah. Depending on the size and placement, tattoos can be covered up.
Right.
This tattoo on my arm is actually a large cover-up. There's something hidden underneath here. The cover-up doesn't have to be as big and as intense as this, but you can manipulate the shading that's already there into a new piece. Or I'd recommend tattoo removal, which is also a painful process, but sometimes... Yeah, but is all you could do.
So where do you go to get tattoo removal?
So there was a couple places in Vermont, and one of them just closed down. So there's only one place I know of right now, and it's UVM, like dermatology. They do tattoo removal there. It's a big laser machine. I would think it
would be a very good business, because I would think there's...
I have a nurse friend that might be interested, and I was like, man, you would be popular.
No, I would think that's how come, before as I said, I knew if I ever got one, it had to have meaning. I just didn't want just anything.
Yeah.
And so I will never have it removed unless my arm goes off at the same time. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen. Yeah. So what more would you like to say? How can people check out you? You have a website?
Yeah, so
Facebook?
It's really hard to get in with me. Everybody knows that. I don't answer my phone. There's no way to message me. But you can check my work out on Facebook /Kingdom Inc. Vermont. On Instagram, it's Kingdom-Inc-Vermont. My artist, Katie, at my studio is definitely more available right now. Her website is CatlinParento.com. I'll write that down for her cousin to put across here.
So I got lucky when
You kind of squeezed in there, but situations matter to me.
Right.
People's life situations, personal reasons why people get tattooed, something that is going to help people through whatever it is they're going through. That matters to me. I've tattooed quite a few people that have told me that sitting in my chair is different than just going to a shop where there's people in and out, there's lots of things going on. I am very empathetic and care and become friends with the people I tattoo, and that comes along with the experience that they're getting.
You have a great chair side.
Thank you. I do genuinely care about my people and why they're getting their tattoos and their story and who their grandma is and how long they've been in Vermont. Like, that all matters to me, and I think it just makes the person feel paid attention to and heard. It's huge.
Well, I fell victim to your tattoo instruments, and now you're falling victim to this.
I'm here.
And I'm sure I'll be writing about you in the coming weeks. Okay, we have to wrap up.
Yep.
It was great. It was great having you on, and thank you for inking me for life.
Absolutely.
I will tell you, my wife wasn't so sure she wanted me to get a tattoo. One of my nieces was just talking to her and said, "What do you think about Uncle Scott's tattoo?" Well, I actually really like it, but I hate telling him that.
I don't want him to know.
Yeah, I don't want him to really know that I actually like it. So, no, you did a great job,
Thank you.
And you're painless. But it just depends on where you're going to put that needle. But okay, thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Scott.
And thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.